Hello, lovelies. Welcome to the first episode of Read with Crid. It just started drizzling outside, and it's perfect weather to grab a book. I was going through some old books from when I was younger, and I found this one. Actually, I found the whole set of them from book A all the way to book, I think, X or something. So each book has a number of stories. So in this episode, we'll go through one or two. The name of this book A is Flight of Fancy. For this episode, I couldn't find a story better than this. The Voice of Africa in American Music by Jim Haskins. You hum, you drum, you tap your feet. You're responding to music, telling yourself and others how you feel. Since history began, music has been a way for groups and nations to share their moods and wishes. Listen to what African American music can tell you. It speaks of hardship and sorrow, of joy and celebration. African music is the root of much of the music that you listen to today. In Africa, the world is music. Let's try to get a sense of what African music was like long ago. Imagine what you would see and hear if you were to step into a West African village in the 1770s. Women are busy pounding maize to make a meal, cooking over an open fire, or collecting firewood. Around them are laughing, playing children. Men are setting off to hunt or clear farmland or herd livestock. Everywhere there is music and singing. The women sing of a good harvest they hope for. The children keep time by drumming their feet on the hard-packed earth. The men do a special dance for good luck on their hunt. From far off come the sounds of huge drums made from hollowed-out logs and the tightly stretched animal skins. The drums announce the approach of a herd of wildebeest or to warn a stampede of elephants. Each series of drum beats carries a separate message. Music is not just for special occasions, although there are special tunes and songs and dances for those. Music is a part of everyday life. Surrounded by the gods of the trees, of the rocks and the streams, the villagers spoke to the gods through music. This is a rhythmic music, marked not just by one or two rhythms, but by 5 or more. These rhythms are echoed in dancing with various parts of the body, each moving with one of the rhythms. It is played on other instruments besides the drums, on stringed instruments such as the banjo or the guitar. It is also played with voices when a group of people are singing. Music tells the story of slavery, sorrow, and rebellion. When Africans were captured and brought to America on slave ships, they were forced to leave their villages, their families, and their homeland, but they could not be forced to leave their music. Slaves from different villages often spoke different languages. They used music to share their sorrow, to tell each other of their fear and of their anger. They used their voices to sing and their hands to pound out rhythm on the bottom of a tub or a tin kettle. Once the slaves were sold and taken home with their owners, they used music to express their desire to escape. Their drum beats were a sort of Morse code to send messages. After a series of revolts and escapes, the slave owners outlawed the use of drums, but that did not stop the slaves. Instead, they used their feet to tap out messages as they danced. After being in America for a time, many slaves adopted Christianity as their religion. They often combined parts of their old religions with the new one. Out of this mingling of religions came a music called spirituals. Spirituals were often called sorrow songs because they expressed deep suffering from the slaves. Mostly, however, the slaves used music to make their burdens lighter and to restore their spirits. In the fields, they sang work songs. Everyone could take part in these songs. A leader would sing one line, and their other workers would reply with the next. If their hands or feet were free, they would accompany their own singing with clapping or tapping. Slaves in America made instruments like those they had used in Africa. They used dried animal bones to produce a clacking sound. They made drums from hollowed-out logs or nail kegs with animal skins stretched tightly across one end. They introduced the banjo to America. The word comes from the African word banjar. Slave bands became a regular part of entertainment on southern plantations. Generations of white children in the South grew up hearing spirituals sung to them by the black women who cared for them. This eventually led to the birth of blues, ragtime, and jazz. When slavery ended, black musicians were able to travel about and perform their music. In the towns along the Mississippi River, they learned from each other and developed a new music that expressed their lives. The blues and ragtime throughout the old plantation spirituals and work songs. Blues, like the sorrow songs from the earlier plantation days, were cries of people who had very little hope. These songs were often sung in lively rhythms like laughing to keep from crying. Ragtime got its name from the ragged time that marks African music. From blues and ragtime came jazz, which was also born in the southern towns along the Mississippi River. Played by groups of musicians, jazz was marked by distinctive rhythms and improvisation, or making up the music as one went along. Orchestras and all-black army regiments that went to Europe during the World War I brought jazz with them. It immediately became popular in Europe. In the early 1950s, a black performer named Bo Diddley was performing music with a strange new sound. On his guitar, he pounded out a beat that many white performers had never had before. He called it a basic bottom beat. Others called it a double rhythm beat. A disc jockey named Alan Crid decided to call it rock and roll. Soon many white musicians were trying this new kind of music. Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones all used sounds of the African American blues, jazz, and rock and roll in their music. The rock music we listen to today has an African beat. In it, we can hear the sounds of African drums and banjos. We can hear the voices of the workers in the fields of the South. We can hear the improvisations of jazz. We can hear the history of African Americans if we know how to listen. That's it for today, lovelies. I hope you enjoyed this story. Tune in next week for another one from the same book. I want to know which one it'll be. Remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment on what you thought, and any book suggestions that you'd like. I'll see you next Friday with another story. Bye!